You have 2 things pre-done. Oh.
Here we go. Let's see if the audio is working.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes it is working.
You're live.
Year ago.
And you can hear me.
Year ago. Yes, so I think we'll just take a few minutes to let some people in and do a random get together here. Say hi to everyone, answer some questions, and continue on with this healing journey that we're all on, my friends. Yo, aloha. Always nice to connect. Always nice to do these. A little random today. So let's see. We'll give it a few minutes, my friends.
There's 24 people in.
How's the weather in Bali? Mel, hey, how are you? Weather is rainy, humid. Yeah, rainy and humid. Kind of used to it at this point. If you notice that my voice is a bit off, I have been recording the audiobook for The Essential Guide to Health Anxiety lately, and yeah, that's a lot of talking going on, and I'm starting to just start enjoying the creative audio. I hope you guys are enjoying the paperback or the digital version of the book. Hope it spoke to you. And yeah, we're gonna do some Q&A here. I'm just looking at my little old journal here, journal/note taking, just to see intuitively where it may lead me in terms of the message you may need to hear today. Hi, Kimberly. How are you? Yes, nice to see you here. I'm really going back here. Now we are closer than we've ever been before. Let's see here. You haven't Googled in over a week, Camilla. That's fantastic. I remember those moments, actually. You know, when people bring these to me, they're quite large moments of success and progress. I'm going, I remember what it's like not to be on Google for a week. Oh yeah, I remember that feeling of trust. I remember that feeling where the work I was doing was starting to pay off finally, right? So I know what you're talking about. I'm shaking this a lot. I'm going to stop moving now so that I don't shake it anymore. Just a bit more and we're good. Yeah. Okie dokie. Yeah, we can do some. Let's just go into Q&A. That's what we'll do. You don't need to hear me ramble about some subject, or do you want to hear me ramble about some subject, some message that you may need to hear today? Comment in the comment section. Let me know. Do you want to jump right into Q&A, or would you like me to share intuitive that may speak to me and may speak to you from the Holy Grail? Let's see. Hey, Joseph. What's up, my friend? Nice to see you here. Isn't it late for you? Shouldn't you be in bed? Excellent. Seven Nightmare says, it's insane how the body can randomly send adrenaline through your body for what seems no reason. Yes, and it can be a very consistent habit, can it not? Right? I mean, in a flash, you can go from calm to adrenaline filled. You can go from inner peace to angry. And more often than not, you don't even know why you're anxious or angry. And then you go looking for reasons and you come up with one. Not you, but the thing we call subconscious/inner child. Now we'll just go to Q&A. Let's see here. Yeah. Any questions, my friends? Let's do that. Let's go there. Let's go there. I'm brought to the questions part of things. Everybody can hear me fine, I think. Thumbs up. Yeah, good. Dealing with tingling and sore joints right now. Okay. Any of your wisdom on health anxiety would be great. You guys want to go down the health anxiety path? We can go there. Yeah, we can definitely go there. What do you want to know specifically, though, in regards to health anxiety, coming from my own perspectives? Can anxiety make you dizzy? Anxiety can perpetuate dizziness, and dizziness can perpetuate anxiety. That's called a feedback loop. One connects with the other, and they communicate, and they agree on something, right? They agree on an interpretation, and off we go. Now, in regards to dizziness, one of the things that helped me tremendously was to stop feeding it. And the way you stop feeding it is you recognize aspects of the dizziness you actually feel may be beneficial to you. I know that sounds really strange, but so I'll give you an example. Dizziness felt like, the path towards some kind of a difficult disease or an illness, right? And then I stopped the cycle and I recognized that the dizziness was keeping me from overwhelm, right? I wasn't having any panic attacks. I wasn't having any anxiety attacks. And the dizziness was sort of like chemical protection for me to keep me away from these emotionally intense moments that would spur on a lot of panic sensations. So, one of the best tools that you can use is perspective, of course, but a lot of times perspective doesn't necessarily work. Okay. In order for you to actually change at a physiological level and to provide safety to the body, it's important to see what the body thinks. Right? If the body thinks that a particular person or a particular environment in the present or future is in some way threatening, then it will do everything in its power to keep you from going there, right? That's what these symptoms are for. You have to understand the reasoning behind the symptoms, first of all, right? And the reasoning behind many of these symptoms, well, it goes in a couple different elements, right? But the main reason for these symptoms is more so a warning signal, right? It's a false alarm. And these false alarms can turn into chronic symptoms that necessarily don't go away because you haven't taken the time to show the body that the world is safe. You may have done a little meditation here or a little journaling there, but in general, as you go through the day and before you go to sleep, the things that you are doing habitually are perpetuating the same idea coming from the body. So until you show the body that the world and everything within it is safe and can be trusted, you're going to continue experiencing these symptoms. Now, the symptoms are also perpetuated from tiredness, right? Make sure you understand the element of halt, hunger, anger, loneliness, and tiredness. These are four elements that you need to pay attention to. These are the fundamentals. If these are off, don't be surprised that you're anxious. Right? Let's see here. What tools are best to use during the day? It depends on the person. Depends on the person. Depends on the person. Depends on the person. Um, One person may need more cognitive tools. Another person may need some more grounding tools. Another person may need more imagery focused tools. Another person may need different kind of responding tools, right? But in general, I believe the so make sure you're paying attention to your speed and how fast you go. Make sure you're paying attention to your posture and make sure you're paying attention to your breathing patterns. And these three elements, right, when done correctly, will really send a good signal. It'll start the process of sending the signal. And every single time you go down, you're slumped, you got to bring yourself back. Every single time your breathing gets shallow, you got to bring your breathing back. Every time your speed heightens and you want to rush things again, you got to bring it back. And that's the practice as you go through the day. I mean, you're living out your purpose right now, and your purpose is to liberate yourself from the ego. Everybody asks me, "What's your purpose?" You're living it out through health anxiety, literally, guys. You're living out something in my teeth. Living out your purpose through liberating yourself from anxiety, right? And we're taking lessons from things, and you're listening to here for specific reasons. You're here because a part of you believes that you can change. You're here because a part of you believes that it is worthy of the change, and there's need to hear here, right? You're here. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, Luana, hey, how are you, girl? Yeah, good to see you. Yay. Live. Yeah, I might be here for a bit, so get comfy. Grab some tea. I don't know if anybody's going to sleep soon, but what better way before you go to sleep than to connect with these good vibes? Everybody here, we understand. We understand. Many of us have been there, currently going through it, and hand in hand, we will get there. Let's see. Let's see here. How to overcome TikTok? Why do I do it, Jamie? Well, I mean, well, here's the thing, right? If you think about these social media platforms, what are they meant to do? They're meant to get you addicted to them, right? And there's a lot of different ways they suck you in through their algorithms and through maybe some subconscious subliminal programming that keeps you coming. Um, so the reason you to continue to meet with a familiar state in terms of emotions, right? So at 7 p.m., I've been TikToking uh, recently, consistently. You will be drawn towards the same thing you do at 7 p.m. each and every day, right? And that will become a habit. Um, until you recognize that the habit isn't really aligned with the person you're trying to become. Like you gotta get to a place where you ask yourself some deeper questions. Like the TikTok will give you a temporary feeling of excitement. It will give you a temporary feeling of past memories that were good, for example. All right, but more than anything, TikTok, Instagram, these sorts of things um, bring you back into a state of victimhood because it will continue to show you what you don't have. A lot of our systems are highly focused on what we don't have, and often the negativity bias within us is a lot more powerful, right? At the forefront, your system will focus on what's wrong way before it focuses on what's right. So, Jamie, honestly, like we said, it takes a lot of sacrifice, right? But when you recognize that your system is being pulled to a habit that you're overdoing, okay, and it doesn't align with your new identity, then it's really up to you to give it up, but to replace it, right? Too many people try to give some habits up and they find themselves fighting like, oh, I just want to go there to get that temporary lift, right? But the truth is that you've got to replace that with something else. And the thing you replace it with will feel tame, right, in connection to TikTok, because TikTok is very exciting, right? Spurs on a lot of dopamine, serotonin. But in order to leave that world of addiction, you're going to have to replace it with something else, and something that feels like the volume has been turned down, right? So at 7 p.m. every single day, you're going for a walk instead, right? At 7 p.m. every single day, you're reading a book instead. You're off electronic, or you're having a nice conversation with somebody instead, which kind of aligns with the TikTok prize when it doesn't feel as fulfilling as TikTok does, right? Because that's their goal, is to suck you in. But Jamie, I know you. You've got tremendous power, and you really have to ask yourself if it's worth it long term. If it's worth it long term, right? You got to get honest with yourself. And healing takes a tremendous amount of sacrifice, a lot of different areas. Okay, let's see here. Does the sound good? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Just comment. Let me know if it's sound is kind of good. Better now. Is it better when I'm loud, or is it better when I'm soft? Okay, a lot of yeses. Cool. All right, let's see here. Let's some questions here. How do you show yourself that everything around you is safe? Again, focus on your physiology. Go to your body. Go to your body and make sure that you are guiding your body rather than allowing your body to guide your mind, right? So it's got to be the other way around. Um, focus physiological changes. Let's see here. Where's everybody from, and what time is it? I'm really curious. Is it raining out there? Hmm? Nice. Okay. Remember, when you ask a question, guys, there's no telling where we're going to go. We don't know. Don't know. I'm not the one answering. At least not Dennis, right? It's coming from a different place. Oh, Florida. Florida, Texas. Nathan and Christina Crawley from Texas, and it is 10:27. Awesome. Let's see here. Excellent, excellent, guys. That's nice to hear. San Diego, California. Oh, okay. So, Jason Sandoval, why do I have so much anxiety over my physical state? I have a lot of muscle tension, etc. Messes with my inner peace and calmness. Now, the reasoning behind the over focus on your physical state is another creative way that your system gets you into a familiar emotional state. Okay, so this is important to understand. A lot of people think that the cause of their suffering is X, right? Because I'm overly focused on my body, or um, social anxiety and such. But these are nothing more than symptoms. These are nothing more than opportunities from the inner child, subconscious mind, to get you into a familiar emotional state. The emotional state that has been most practiced and most common, and what took place originally in your life, is the state that your system will want to default to. Now, if your system gets you to focus entirely on your physical state, and that perpetuates more fear, then that's the direction it will go, right? But the interesting thing with anxiety in general, um, is that anxiety does breed a tremendous amount of muscle tension. And a lot of this muscle tension we are not really aware of, whether we have anxiety or not, right? When you wake up in the morning and you're aware of where you are and you realize how much you have to get done during that day, there's tension in your forehead, there's tension in your neck, there's tension in your lower body, there's tension in your stomach, right? The more nervousness you experience because of someone you have to meet with throughout the day, you're going to find that churning stomach feeling, right? And that's all tension being built up, right? When we were kids, for example, we were in the classroom and the teacher said, make sure that you focus, 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 right? Look at that thing, try to figure it out. And as we did, what did we do? Our eyes tightened up, our forehead tightened up, and next thing you know, right, we've got all this tension here. So we are chronically tight. Okay, we are chronically tight. And the chronic tightness is a result of the emotional state we found ourselves in most often. And again, it's a feedback loop. Now, let's say you're going through your day, right? And this time, as you're going through the day, you recognize what sort of ideas and what sort of environments and situations create the tension, right? And you recognize where the tension is. Maybe it's in your stomach, maybe it's in your head and such. And now you have the mindfulness to respond to it, right? Instead of being aligned with it and living unconsciously, right? So now, in that very moment, you decide that you're going to let that body part go. And what starts to happen over time is that you start to show your mind, your body, and spirit that the world is safe. And the chronic tension that's been spurring on more symptoms starts to go away, and everything starts to change, right? So understand that when we think about anxiety, we also have to think about chronic tightness. Okay, chronic tightness, which creates fatigue, which wears us down physically, emotionally, mentally. These are things to consider. Okay, so we have to do things to make sure that we are mindful enough to recognize when the tightness shows up and to respond to it differently, right? It's incredible, at least at the beginning stages of this healing process. I don't know if it's true for you guys, but for me, it was. It was incredible how mindful I had to be about a few different elements related to anxiety. I don't know about you, but I had to be very focused on it, very mindful, not so much focused on it, but just aware of it, aware of when my body went into that chronic state of tightness, and tension, aware of when my mind would create certain scenarios that would never come true, these sorts of things, the mental things, the physical things. So, yes, it does take a high degree of attention and focus. And you'll feel like, you're putting in a lot of work, at least at the beginning, right? It's a lot of work at the beginning to reverse this anxious state. But, and just to pinpoint along those lines is it may feel like you're putting in 10 times the effort, but only getting 1% change, right? Does that connect? Comment below. Um, and then, a few weeks will go by, for example, every individual is different, but then, then you're putting in 9 times the effort and you're getting 2% out of it, right? Then you're putting in, 7% effort and you're getting 5% out of it. And you're putting 6% effort in throughout the day, and you're getting 12% out of it, right? And that's the journey until you get to a point where you feel like it's effortless, right? You can get to a point, and this effortless place is where a lot of people want to get to overnight, right? They feel like, oh, I just want to get there. I've suffered so much, I just want to get there. I've been in that place, right? But it unfortunately doesn't work like that. So what happens is every time you give up on yourself and you're not as mindful, you keep going backwards to the same place you were before. And it's this back and forth game where you're putting in tons of effort and always getting 1% out of it. So what's important here is that we understand that we are evolving. We're evolving out of the ego centered prison. We're evolving out of the ego centered prison. The ego centered prison, you could call it the inner child centered prison, right, is a manifestation of your core beliefs. Okay. And when we say core beliefs, we're talking about the deepest level of beliefs that you have in your system, right? The protective stuff. Um, we're evolving, and we can't skip steps. That's why, guys, when you go through the day and something bad happens to you, or you get anxious, or a symptom raises itself in intensity, right? You have to begin seeing that very moment as some kind of an opportunity slash a test. Okay, because here you are on one side consciously saying, I want to be somebody different and feel different feelings. Right. But on the other side, the universe is going, okay, well, we're not going to give it to you overnight because you don't have enough history of success with this new person. Right. So prove to us. So in that very moment, if you don't change something, then don't expect the emotional state to change, right? And so you go through the day, start recognizing that the bad things aren't necessarily bad, right? They're just opportunities for you to do something different, right? Let's be clear on that. Okay? Are psychedelics recommended for fighting anxiety? Depends on who you ask. People that are very passionate that psychedelics can, in fact, fight anxiety and help with anxiety will tell you that it's a good path to go towards, and you should do your due diligence. You should do your studying up on it, and I highly recommend not jumping into it without the guidance and the knowledge that you need, because it can go in two different directions, right? But my personal opinion is psychedelics can be beneficial if you do it right and you have the right mindset going forward, and you've actually gone to a place where you can stop fighting the experience, right? Like if you move with the experience, it can be beneficial. But if you're the kind that thinks that psychedelics will heal you, it's not going to work and it may backfire. Let's see here. Joseph, my friend, yes, what really helped you with fatigue when you're really deep within your healing health anxiety. I've also noticed that tightness awareness is key. What helped me with fatigue? Rest. Surprisingly, right? Rest helped me with fatigue. Rest gave me clarity, the kind of clarity that you can't get when you're always mentally busy, when you're always physically busy, when you're on the train and you're not sitting there with your eyes closed listening to the train, right? Because that would be a moment of self-love. But instead you go to your phone and check your text messages, you check your email and all these things. A lot of people don't realize how these things have a lasting effect on you and create so much anxiety within you. So what really helped my fatigue was rest. And people would say, Dennis, why are you sleeping 12 hours a day, 12 hours a night? Because I needed it. Intuitively, I needed it. I was in a very dark place, a very tired and overwhelmed place, and something needed to change. But and of course there were other things, right? When it comes to fatigue, but more so when I think about fatigue, I think about things that a person hasn't really let go of yet from the future, things that the person hasn't really made peace with or resolved from the past, sorry, and their lifestyle, right? The way they live their lives today. So all these things contribute, right? Yeah, all of these things contribute. Everything contributes. At any given moment of the day, you have to ask yourself, is this helping the direction that I'm going, or is it harming it, right? We live in a very loud world, and a lot of people are are feeling like anxiety is just a normal state of being at this point, right? It's just, it's been there for so long. Everyone's got it. I'm anxious. I have anxiety symptoms, blah, 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 right? It's just normal today. But it's not normal. It shouldn't be seen as normal, right? If you think it's normal and it's part of your identity, then consciously and unconsciously, everything that you do will be aligned with that anxiety, right? Everything that you say, every idea that you attach to. Healing anxiety means that um, things don't stick to you anymore, right? So you're on the train and you have a moment of peace and you get to decide whether you close your eyes or you go to your phone, right? And every part of you that's used to anxiety is saying go to your phone. You may miss an email, right? And okay, well, the idea showed up, and now I have a choice to allow that idea to stick to me and take an action that's aligned with it, or I can go in a completely different direction. Somebody criticizes you. Does it stick for the next week? Right? Whatever it is, you become unstickable. Nothing sticks anymore. Okay? Your favorite sports team just won a game. Great. That's fine. That's great. You don't live your life and have your emotions led by whether your sports team won or lost anymore, right? Because that's called the addiction of suffering. So it's not this. You're not. Oh, here and over here and dragged over here, right? So we stop living that way, right? Let's see here. Luana, physically maybe, sure, but we can always tap into the limitless spiritual human journey. Yes. Anxiety, worst and best thing to happen to me. What a statement. What a statement. Eric, how are you? Eric Paz, what do you think I should do when I wake up through the through the night with anxiety and have to work to fall back asleep? I feel like I am struggling to rest. When you wake up in the middle of the night, what worked for me, right, would be to get out of bed, to go into a different environment, to do something that would start to calm the system again. And more often than not, it led me to reading. So I would read a few pages of a book, right? Instead of laying in bed and kind of tossing and turning and trying to fall asleep, right? It takes hours. Get out of the environment, go into a place, start reading a book. Um, don't turn on a ton of lights because you want your system to be flooded with that melatonin still, right? You still want to feel like you're guiding your system towards rest and it's sleep time and such. But I would get up. I would do something that gets you to a place of emotional neutrality and moving yourself out of the all the what ifs, and then I would lay down and go to bed again. The other thing you can do is just imagine yourself sleeping. Right? You can get out of the bed. You can go sit somewhere, close your eyes again, and imagine yourself falling asleep. And you can see that on the side, the alarm clock, or in this day and age, your phone. The time is going from 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 to 7. You're waking up at 7. You're stretching, right? You have this big smile on your face, tremendous gratitude. You're no longer your name. You've turned into a new identity. Therefore, you're fresh and starting all over again. And then you open up your eyes, right? And if you go to sleep with that idea, that can help as well. But let's not downplay the importance of imagery work when it comes to this kind of healing, right? You have to imagine better scenarios. For me, hands down, most important thing. You have to imagine better scenarios. Okay. So if you're new to this, go to my reframing playlist and get your feet wet with those. Okie dokie. Let's see here. L Holder. Hi, Dennis. Hi. Let's see here. Karan Singh. Dear sir, how to know that I am cured? I do not have any physical symptoms now, only I dream more after midnight, and I remember the dreams every morning, but most of the time I think about anxiety. Well, the first question is how do to know that I am cured? I don't like the word cured for some reason. Um, I think a better idea, Karan, is to feel like you are always making progress rather than feeling like you're cured. Because if you have the sense that whether I am cured or not, you're constantly going to be met with disappointment because you will be dragged towards things that are still unresolved, right? And still need work within you. But if you see this journey as making progress from one life experience to the next, then there's less pressure there. Okay. But you know when things are improving, when you're no longer falling for a story in your mind and no longer falling for an external experience that didn't go your way. More than anything, you know that you're healing when you're giving up control, right? You know you're healing when you're giving up control and when you're starting to feel like trust is growing within you. I can trust in the idea of leaving this alone. I can trust in, people swimming in their own, you know, whatever it is, right? Negativity, that kind of energy. I can trust that I can leave this alone and let karma take over. I can let God take over. I can let the universe take over because I'm no longer going to fight to change every aspect of me inside or outside, right? So, one of the biggest experiences that you can have, knowing that you're going in the right direction, is I feel like I can let go now. I can really start to let go of the need for control. And I'm starting to embrace this other side now. Right? This part of me that's new. Okay. But a lot of people here, let's see. I feel like a lot of you are struggling with symptoms. Would that be true? More so physical rather than the mental chatter, or it could be 50-50 or whatever. Let's see here. I feel sad I never had any friends growing up, and now how can I get advice with social anxiety, Jamie? Well, here's the perspective, right? Why are you grateful that you never had any friends growing up? Why was it a good thing that you didn't surround yourself with all sorts of different social circles? Why was that a good thing? Take that idea and start writing down more components connected to it. See, that's the thing. We get to choose at this point. We get to choose um, how to define our past. We get to choose. We get to choose what we think about a symptom. Okay. We get to choose whether what I'm experiencing is social anxiety or I absolutely love my alone time, right? And I cherish the time with my new identity. And it's not that we have social anxiety, it's that the energies out there are different, are going against what I need on the inside in order for me to evolve. Your system is a lot smarter than you are. Okay. Your intuition is a lot smarter than you are. Remember that. So if it feels like you have social anxiety, more often than not, what you really need to continue your healing journey is more alone time, getting to know the new you. Because what's the most important relationship? The one between you and your body for a lot of us, right? if I can get to a place where my body feels safe, right? If I can get to a place where I can resolve some of the traumas that are stuck in my body, if I can get to a place where I can redirect these symptoms towards safety, right? Then I'm living out my purpose. This is the truth. So why do you continue to believe that it's social anxiety? Why do you continue to believe that not having friends when you were growing up is a bad thing? It's the greatest thing that's ever happened to you. You're so lucky not to be connected to those people. You're so lucky not to be dragged here and there and everywhere. Right? Why do you need friends? Why do you need so many friends? Right? You don't. Society makes us believe that the more followers we have, the more worthy we are. Right? The more likes we get on a post, the greater the human being we are now, the more connected we are. No, the more disconnected we are. That's the truth. Everything's opposite. Everything that you see today on social media, everything that you see in the mainstream is opposite. Everything that's being preached, right? And that's the truth. That's why, as I go through my day, all my mentors, none of them are on mainstream, right? None of them are mainstream. None of them. Absolutely not, right? Um, absolutely not. My mentors are more so the sages that you never hear about, the people that you have to go digging for, right? The trauma healers that don't make it to millions and millions of followers, right? So to hold these people up on a pedestal would only be detrimental to your growth, right? I believe we're social species. Yes, we are social species. But here's the thing: um, we are being dragged towards circles that we're not meant to be in, right? And we stay there not for our own benefit, but we stay there because we're looking to please others so that we can be accepted and liked by people that really don't care about us. So it's twofold. One, yes, we're social creatures, right? And we're meant to be in a tribe, right? Because when you're in a tribe, you're a lot safer. And there's hunter gatherer type stuff, right? And we don't like being ostracized from groups, but at the same time, if you are socializing and you're in a circle of people that don't fit with the direction you're headed on your journey, right, then something needs to be done, right? Something needs to be done. Awareness needs to be there. Um, however, we don't take the time to consider that lifelong friends uh, are not meant to be our friends from this moment forward anymore, right? We think that because something has been around for so long that we have to continue to feed into it. Not the case. And this is where we get stuck, right? Letting people go, letting careers go, letting old habits go, letting your name go, letting the attachment to control go, right? Bye, Robin.
Bye. Bye, guys. Oh my gosh, I was really on there.
Letting go. Beard is on point, bro. Let's go. Let's see how long we can make this thing. Let's see. Let's see where it can go, guys. If anybody has any beard tips, it's very patchy. Yes, I believe, Joseph, that we do live in a very artificial world. Yes, I do. And it's getting more artificial by the day. On a lot of fronts in today's world, on a lot of fronts, we're going backwards. Really, there's a some in this day and age. I mean, how can you not justify the fact that so many people have anxiety? It's all justified, right? Because there's just on so many fronts, there's so many wrongs being done, right? But at the same time, um, we have to remember who we are. We're not we're not anxiety. That's why I always say you are more than anxiety, right? You cannot connect anxiety to who you are. You are not the symptoms that you experience. You can let those things go and see them differently. You can sit with them. You can sit with your feelings. You can sit with your emotions. You can forgive people, right? Even the people that have done you wrong. Right? So let's see here. What is the difference between anxiety and depression? Uh, quite a bit. I believe that when you have depression, you're no longer afraid of things that you were afraid of when you had anxiety, right? But depression is the next step in the evolution of you, I believe. So anxiety is this chronic, tense way of living, catastrophizing and such, and all the things that go with it. When you have depression, I think it's very, very important to understand that you have met with a gray area, right? You are now in a place where you're no longer afraid or as afraid of the things that you were when you had anxiety, right? And depression is this gray area that says, where do we go from here? Okay. And I don't think depression is I mean, okay, let's backtrack a little bit. Anxiety is a horrible thing. Depression is a horrible thing. OCD is a horrible thing. Uh, all of these labels and experiences that we have are very difficult experiences, right? But at the same time, if we can tap in to the perspective that says, I am evolving past the old me, that would be called depression, then we can start to design ourselves again or redesign ourselves. And isn't that what we're doing? We're just redesigning who we are and how we want to feel, right? So, yeah, there are a few differences there between anxiety and depression from my perspective. A7 nightmare. Can tension cause the symptoms of anxiousness in your limbs? 100%. I believe it can. I believe that's one of the main causes, of course. Hayes Fanak. Are we just forced to learn how to accept this new artificial world? I miss his things used to be on such a deep level. Um, I believe that we are headed in a direction where um, we are being forced to accept a new way of living our lives. And I don't believe that's beneficial for humanity. I also think that humanity, in a large portion of the world, are really starting to question a lot of the systems that have been in place for a long time, that have been related to our healing, that related to cures and such, that have done a good job in some aspects, but in general have kept us suffering. People are questioning the school system, they're questioning the medical system, they're questioning the politicians, they're questioning a lot of things now, and that creates some discussion, and discussion is good, right? Let's see here. How do you overcome fear? It's quite a general question, Liz, but my immediate response, um, to get to do whatever it takes to get to a place where you see beyond the fear, where you recognize how petty it is and recognize where it's coming from. If you can recognize where your fear is coming from, you're going to realize that that's not you, right? In the truest sense, What you fear is not you. Right? It's a part of you that's creating feelings and emotions and ideas within you, but that's not who you are. That's a part of you that wants to keep you in a familiar place of suffering. Okay, so if you recognize that, let's say, inner child is provoking the fear, right? Then you can realize that, hey, I don't believe the same things I used to when I was a child. I don't believe the same things I did when I was a teen or a young adult. I don't believe that that one experience I had when I was driving dictates how I see driving in general anymore, right? So a lot of healing comes from when we start to separate ourselves from the old ideas, from the old beliefs, from the old interpretations, and say, you know what, here's where I am now. Here's what I believe now, right? Even death. What have we been told about death our entire lives? What have we been told? Most of us. We've never even considered the fact that there could be a completely different experience and meaning behind passing on, right? For many of us, we've grown up, say, with the idea of heaven and hell, right? So we've got to be good boys and good girls now. And the moment we sin, we walk around with a tremendous amount of guilt. And what's guilt? Guilt is poison, right? And we remember the Grim Reaper, right? And all the other pain that goes along with it, right? So now we're at a place where we can evolve out of those old ideas. Let's see. Let's say here. Let's see here. Hmm. A7 Nightmare. Anxiety has gone from manageable to not leaving the house over the last few months. I'm sorry to hear that. My poor wife gets woken up by me needing to talk to her to calm myself down, pacing for hours. Sounds like me just a number of years ago. Okay. It's it's a necessary chapter that you have to go through, right? Not only you, but your wife as well, right? And in a few years, you're going to look back and you're going to realize why you had to go through it. Okay, so um, there are things in your life right now that you need to overturn, right? Overturn, such as the reasons behind the anxiety, the reasons behind the fear, right? The reasons behind the sensitivity and such. These are ideas that need to be overlapped with new ideas and turned into belief systems. So, as you can see, what you're going through right now, as painful as it is for you and your family, um, are opportunities that you must use in order to take the first step, right? You got to take the first step. The first step. And the best way to know what the first step is to ask yourself. Okay, so instead of going here and that forum and sharing your problems and such, maybe this is you, maybe not, this is who I used to be, you have to start taking the first step. Once you take the first step, whether that be physically taking a step outside, whether that be imagining what the best scenario would be if you stepped out of your comfort zone, whether that be verbally talking to somebody about this whole scenario, you take the first step. Once you take the first step, you build on it. Then you take the second step. And the second step will challenge you more than the first step. This is important to understand. Okay. Um, you cannot feel like this path forward away from all this fear will be comfortable. That's the mistake we're making. We think that healing is comfortable. And the moment it gets too uncomfortable, we go running back to that familiar state of the addiction of suffering, back to fear, back to anxiety. It's uncomfortable. Mentally, it's uncomfortable. Physically, it's uncomfortable. Emotionally, it's uncomfortable. Right? So, guys, intuitively ask yourself right now, in this very moment, right? Because I'm not, I will provide you with guidance, but more often than not, I will not tell you what to do, right? Because I don't want to. In a lot of my videos, I give general ideas on what to do, right? We talk about imagery focused exercise, we talk about responding, we do talk about these things, but this is your own personal journey. So ask yourself right now, what's the first thing I have to do? What's the very thing I have to do right now in this very moment, to take one step forward away from the thing that's keeping me hostage within fear? What's the one thing? Comment below. What speaks to you intuitively? What's the thing you have to do right now? And maybe it's admitting something in the comments section, right? Maybe it's it's a different mindset going into this live. Maybe you're looking for the cure, and you've looked for the cure in these lives over and over again, and just maybe you have to approach this differently. Maybe you have to stop feeling sorry for yourself. Maybe, right? Maybe you have to leave a state of victimhood. Maybe you have to be brutally honest with yourself. Maybe you have to ask yourself new questions. What is the thing? Let's see here. Let's read a couple of these. Jason, you're very welcome. Thank you for those kind words, my friend. Chewing on pearls. And by the way, I commend you for your honesty, guys. Right now, this very moment, you have a tremendous opportunity to move forward. Be honest with us. Share what you haven't shared. Reveal. Let's heal. You're the best, Dennis. Yeah, thank you so much again, Jason. It's definitely an unconscious addiction to suffering. Yeah. In the case of health anxiety, I moved from one worry and once resolved automatically to the next. Thanks to your podcast, I've been catching this. Wonderful. Wonderful. Nathan and Christina Crawley sharing the account. Love it. Hi. Most days I am perfectly fine when I take my daily meds for anxiety, and as soon as I take them, I literally start feeling anxiety. But then it goes away with meds. Why does this happen every day? Could be a mental thing, could be a chemical thing. I don't know. I think you have to pick up on patterns. And more so, Nathan and Christina, it seems like there's an association here that needs to be tweaked. You have an association with taking your meds. You have an association with what it may do. You have an association with where it may lead. I think it's very important that you catch those ideas and you write them down. And then you recognize where they come from. Where does all this fear come from? Because, guys, we're mirroring a lot more often than not. We're mirroring our parents. We're mirroring our authority figures. We're mirroring people that we look up to, right? A lot of people that follow celebrities these days, celebrities talking about their pains and such. And because many of us fall in love with their songs and such, we find ourselves in a place of familiarity with them very soon after. Right? Oh yeah, I'm depressed too. Right? It's interesting how that happens. Okay. These mirror neurons will never lie. Hey, Michael, what's up? Michael is in an interesting place right now, and his words are very wise. So I would recommend, because he's been on this journey for a while and he's in a much better place. Might want to share a few things there, Michael. Letting negative friends and family go. I focus on being victims themselves. calendar. If you're enjoying this live, give it a thumb up. Up with the thumb. Thumb up. Let's see. Let's see. Hi, Dennis. Greetings from Argentina. Go Argentina. Let's go Messi. World Cup. Come on. In your last video, you spoke about turning rationalization into beliefs. How do you recommend to deal with skepticism coming from yourself? Thank you so much for your books. They're a light. So you're the skeptic, I'm guessing. First of all, let's understand that rationalizing with yourself will very rarely get you to the place that you want to get to. Okay? So rationalizing with yourself, rationality and logic go hand in hand for me. So being logical with yourself, for example, more often than not will not allow certain new ideas and concepts and principles to turn into belief systems. And if they don't turn into belief systems, you won't feel them, right? Because a lot of people say affirmations, but they don't feel the truth behind the affirmation, which tells you something right there, right? To deal with the skepticism, first and foremost, I would recognize where it comes from and why it's there. Why are you skeptic and what are you afraid of? What are you afraid of in terms of believing in the new concepts and ideas, right? What do you think is going to happen? Not you, but what do you think? What does your inner child think is going to happen if you adopt these as belief systems? Okay, so answer that question right away. What does your inner child believe is going to happen when you adopt these new ideas, when you adopt the attitude of safety towards this world? Why is the inner child so afraid of adopting these new concepts? Start there. Start right there. Okay. If something has been familiar for a long period of time, familiarity always equals safety. Remember that. This is a golden rule that you want to keep in the back of your mind. It's not that something is difficult to overcome. It's not that a habit is difficult to replace. It's the fact that your inner child wants to pull you towards what you've done that has been the most familiar in your life up to this point. Okay. So let's start somewhere. Let's start there. It's not that you're too old. It's not that these habits are ingrained in you. It's not that the anxiety is too high a degree and all those ideas, right? It's the fact that it's so familiar that anything that doesn't fit with this idea of anxiety is rejected. Okay, is rejected. And it's not you, the rational side, that's rejecting that, right? It's the part of you that wants to keep you safe. Okay, so your inner child is trying to keep you safe through symptoms. It's trying to keep you safe through catastrophic mental chatter. It's trying to keep you safe by keeping you around the same energy vampires you've hung around your whole life. It's trying to keep you safe by going to the same cafe every single day. It's trying to keep you safe by keeping the same job you've had up to now. All of these things are based around protection. Okay. And the moment you go, oh, I'm going to tap into my creativity here, start a new business, go online, and I'm going to start traveling. The moment you start doing that, the inner child will find all sorts of creative ways to make you believe that it can't happen. Okay? Can't happen. So we're basically creating, I mean, this whole thing is a convincing game. It's a convincing game. So my recommendation to everybody here is don't waste your time trying to rationalize with your own inner child. It's a losing battle. Okay? Don't waste your time trying to rationalize and get logical with your inner child. It's a waste of time. Okay? I would highly recommend studying and implementing skill sets that get you at a much deeper level and feel completely unfamiliar to you, right? And communicate with your subconscious mind. That's why we say the first 10 minutes and the last 10 minutes of the day are the most important. What you do in those 2 times long term will determine who you are, who you become. Okay. So you gotta really take control of those first 10 minutes and the last 10 minutes of the day, and what sort of mental chatter is playing out, what sort of feelings you feel, what sort of images are running through your head, and come up with some good habits in regards to those 2 time periods. And as you go through the day, you're practicing responding practices, you're practicing mindfulness, and you're basically fixing your body every time it wants to look depressed again. You're fixing your body, you're replacing your body with a new reaction, a new response. I mean, it's very hard to look empowered and feel anxious, right? It's very hard to look like you trust in the world and your future and be anxious. All right, try it. Try it right now. All right, pull your shoulders back, sit upright, start breathing deeply, and try to feel anxious. Try to feel depressed. Notice what happens. I bet you can't do it because your physiology will always override your psychology. Right? Your physiology, your body will override your psychology. But in today's mental health world, what do we turn to first? Right? We talk about our problems, don't we? We talk about it. We always talk. There's a lot of talking going on. There's not a lot of change. Right? So it's the body. It's the body. It's the body. Because isn't that the end goal, to change how you feel? Isn't the end goal to release yourself of the sensations and symptoms connected to anxiousness? It's the body. Change the body, right? Okay. So, yeah, these sorts of things like posture, breathing, speed, facial expressions, hand gestures, right? These sorts of things, when you become aware of them, will cut the tension out of your life. Okay. Let's see here. What else do we have? Is this helpful for you guys? Comment below, please, if it's helpful. If it's helpful, give it a thumbs up. It's nice to connect with you. And in regards to what you're getting from it, I think it's very important that you either write it down here to nail down the new idea or the concept that you want to make into a belief. You either write it down in terms of what you gain the most so far out of this, or you write it down in your trusty notebook, in your journal, right? Everybody needs one of these. Okay. One for the new concepts and one for your own life experience, right? You read a book, something spoke to you, you write it down, and let's say one of them, right? And let's say a consistent habit that you make of writing down your life experiences and all the wins and the challenges and such, you write it down in a different one, right? These are all good things. Let's see. Yes, very helpful, A7. Awesome. Michael, thumbs up, my friend. All right, good stuff, good stuff. Hail Leathers. Hail Leathers. What was the main feature that helped you to change your relationship with anxiety? What was the main feature that helped you to change your relationship with anxiety? I think it was the fact that I saw anxiety after having dealt with it for years, from a very young age for me. I think I saw it as a time waster. Um, and I didn't want to waste any more time, right? I started to see anxiety as when we talk about anxiety, there are branches to it, right? There's a mental aspect to anxiety, there's a physiological aspect, there's an emotional aspect, there's a spiritual aspect to anxiety, right? Anxiety is a very low vibrative way of going about your life. You're sending the signals of fear and victimhood no matter where you go when you have anxiety. This was me, this is everybody. But I think with anxiety, I finally got to a place where I was able to separate myself from the person who was suffering from anxiety. So instead of me, going through my day saying, oh, there's the anxiety, the symptoms, what's my day going to be like, the sensation, the lump in the throat, the physical, the tightness in the chest, the headaches, the migraines, the just everything was there. It was so dark. Like, oh, I can't even begin to express to you how difficult those days were, guys. But when you step, when you actually can, when you can do this, where you can step outside of the person going through anxiety and start to see that person from the outside, and you start looking at them, right? And you start recognizing the things that are connected to perpetuating the anxiety. You know what I mean? Because when you're in it, it's very difficult to see those things, right? But when I'm out of it and I look at the person, this is very practical. I look at the person suffering from anxiety, Dennis, right? You start to go, well, wow. Like, I know this change isn't going to happen overnight, but the Dennis who's going through anxiety is really, he's really struggling. Like he's really struggling to maintain control over his life. He's really struggling with trying to make peace with people from his past. And he's really struggling with the idea that he's going to be let down again, right? So, on top of all that, right, I started to recognize what a time waster anxiety was. Okay, so it's a time waster. It's we don't have eternity on this planet, right? We don't. We're here, and I'm becoming more convinced that we're here for a reason. I don't believe that it's coincidence that we're here, nor do I think it's coincidence that so many of us are experiencing what we're experiencing. Do you? And the more days go by, the more I realize that our true purpose, away from making more money, away from this and that, all the garbage, right? All the things that are deemed the most important aspects of life, aside from all that conditioning. There's a deeper reason for why we're here and why we're experiencing anxiety. I'm starting to believe in that more and more. Um, did I answer your question? I don't even know. Does that help? If it doesn't, say, Dennis, that didn't help. What'd you get out of it? What'd you get out of that answer? Trent, how are you in New Zealand? Don't worry, guys. I'm just showing off my new beard here. Not quite Brad Pitt, but I'll take it. Okay. Nathan and Christina Crawley. I went from having non-functioning anxiety to now having anxiety only when I need meds. Wow. Just realized how far I've come. There you go. There you go. Hale, you're very welcome. Haley, Hale. Uh, what is you saying now? Don't know. You have to ask, what is your anxiety trying to tell us? Along those lines. Let's see here. What else we have? Let's see here. Let's do some scrollage. Hi, Dennis. How do you deal with health anxiety when you're actually sick? You deal with health anxiety the same way if you weren't sick. Being sick with health anxiety and not sick with health anxiety, you approach it the same way. Um, I would get the book Heal Your Body by Louise Hay. And at the back of that book, you will recognize all the emotional connections to the physical complaint. Okay. And I would start living my life based on what the body's signals are that are connected to suppressed feelings and emotions. And I would look for more ways to express those emotions so that physically we become healthy again. Okay. Because that's how spontaneous remissions happen. Okay. Um, but the way you deal with health anxiety when you're sick or not would be the same way. And I believe that the root cause of health anxiety, at least to a large uh, proportion, a lot of people, is the fear of taking a risk. Health anxiety is the fear of taking a risk. Health anxiety is not perpetuated by the fear of death so much. Health anxiety is perpetuated by the fear of truly living, right? So as long as I continue to make this anxiety symptom something that it is not, which is a catastrophic idea coming from the inner child, which it is not. As long as I stay in that realm of thinking that it is, then that emotional state of fear is connected to your name, right? Whether you're Jennifer or Eric or Christy or Mike or whatever it is, right? The moment you say your name, what comes with that? The moment you wake up in the morning, right? You are X. And with X comes what? Comes a lot of baggage, comes a lot of habits, comes a lot of belief systems, comes a lot of unconscious behaviors. Everything's robotic, right? So in essence, to heal your health anxiety, you have to begin associating yourself to someone else. And that's, we're talking at the top here. How would your higher self look at the symptom? How would your higher self view life in general? How would your higher self view death? How would your higher self view aging? Right? So you start with the principles. Okay. You start with the principles and you start to recognize what are the new principles coming from the new me, right? And to supercharge this whole process of, you know, redefining who you are, therefore removing anxiety from your life, go watch kids in the playground. Watch the kids in the playground, right? Um, Even though you may not consciously be writing down things and studying them, you know, cognitively, you are picking up on how to live your life. Does a child ever brood, catastrophize over a certain part of their body? No, they don't. But once we become more mentally developed, right, as the years go on, then we start to create all these different scenarios and what it could be and what else and all that sort of stuff, right? But if you see a child and they hurt themselves on the playground, right? What do? They cry. They always express, right? They express somehow, right? They yell. They do this or that, and they get back up on the monkey bars, right? But if we fell on the playground with anxiety and the sensitized state that many of us are in, we scratched our knee. We're thinking about, what disease is connected to the dirt, right? Scratch my knee, disease, dirt, moving into my bloodstream, affecting me, killing me, right? That's the way health anxiety people think. And you can laugh at it, right? You're free to laugh at it. Right? If you can't laugh at yourself, who are you going to laugh at? A lot of people ask me, what are these elements that helped you free yourself from health anxiety? Humor was one of them. Let's see here. Uh, Renee Goshnik. Hi, Dennis. I have finished your Inner Circle program. Good for you for committing. It gave me many tools to come out of anxiety. Thanks again. You're very welcome. And I commend you for following through with that program. Well done. Really well done. Really well done. Sprinkle of Voodoo. I like the name. Hello, my brother. Introduce me to your channel. Hello to you and your brother. Welcome. Christopher Wright. I'm so jealous of my toddler. So true. I really hope I have that kind of trust again. Eric Paz, what is the Inner Circle program? I'll just all my programs. I don't know if that link works actually. Do you have to put HTTP before it? I'll try that again. There's a few newcomers here. My programs. If I do that, oh, you still can't click. Oh, can you? Oh, you can. Hidden message. Okay. Yeah. So if you're wondering what the Inner Circle program is, or the Health Anxiety program, Panic Attack program, all very targeted, specific. Check out that pinned URL there. Let's see here. Let's see here. Got a new camera. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. We broke the last one. Everything happens for a reason, right? Yeah, look at that. Guys, we're shooting in 4K now. Fantastic. Very exciting. So videos are in 4K. Still trying to get the lighting right and all that. Not very good at that stuff. I should be at this point. I'm not. Oh well. Let's see. Let's see. Eric Paz, Dennis, love your Roman numerals tattoo. I have one myself. My son's birthday. All right. Yeah, it's my son's birthday as well. Boom, boom. Excellent. Excellent. Oh, thoughts on religion and faith for anxiety. Grant Gaylord, hello. Thoughts on religion and faith for anxiety. Yeah. I think that. Well, I don't think that. I know that many of us are drawn towards something new as we begin healing, right? And that could be in the form of religion, that could be in the form of a spiritual practice, whatever it may be. But there are two ways to go about it. You can get your feet wet with religious practices and such, and spiritual practices, and begin understanding and healing your anxiety, or you can start healing your anxiety and be naturally brought towards these types of things as well. I've seen both repeatedly, in fact, right? And it's interesting how so much of the anxiety healing journey or the evolving journey, later on, I get so many questions based around God, and so many questions based around um, all sorts of stuff in that realm, right? So I believe that prayer plays a big part in healing. I believe prayer is not so much a prayer to an external entity of sorts. I believe prayer is a planting of a seed to our own subconscious minds more so. So when you pray, when I pray, I believe that I'm praying to a source energy, but at the same time, the for a larger portion of that prayer, I'm praying to my own subconscious mind. So um, I believe prayer plays a big part in healing. I believe mantras can play a big part in healing. I believe whether you're drawn to Eastern religious practices, Eastern philosophies, or Western, whether that be Stoicism. Stoicism is actually at some point in this, my own experience, Stoicism played a big role in actually getting myself to think clearly. So, Stoic exercises and philosophies played a big part in my healing. I'll always be the kind of person that recommends Stoicism, the Seneca books, the Marcus Aurelius books, all those great teachers. But you may be in a chapter where you're drawn more towards the Eastern practices in Buddhism. Buddhism can play a big role in letting things be and not forcing, and understanding that attachment, the root of all suffering, right? Ryan Holiday, fantastic author, yes. So I think it's important to be honest with yourself and ask yourself what you're drawn to and not question it, right? Whatever you're drawn to, as much as it may feel like it goes against the upbringing that you had, you are on a personal journey. You're not on a family journey, right? You are on a personal journey, which means that new concepts will need to be turned into beliefs, new religious practices, uh, new interpretation of what God may be, right? As you heal from anxiety, will also be there, right, for many of you. So I would embrace it, and I believe it plays a big part in the healing process. 100%, 100%. And great question, by the way. I love, one of my favorite things is when people ask me questions around bridging the gap between physical and mental anxiety and spirituality and religion. Um, I like to do this often, right? I like to do this, not for everybody, but often, right? The Charles Bronson says this path has taken me to the Stoic route, and that's brilliant. That's brilliant, right? That's brilliant. I I'm never going to be the kind of person that says X is bad, because anybody that says this or that is bad for you, or that's not the route you should be taking, I believe that's a wrong way of approaching this way of evolving out of our old selves, right? At any given time, at any given chapter in your healing, you're going to be pulled in different directions. And as you are, you need to go and investigate it. You need to become curious over it, right? Let's see. Any advice for fatigue bouts after panic disorder? I've been there. Fatigue bouts after panic disorder. Um, I'm not going to go the mental direction here. I'm actually going to go in a physical direction to kind of answer this question because that's what's coming to me. In terms of the fatigue, one of the things during the fatigue part of my panic disorder, generalized and health anxiety, um, one of the things that helped me greatly for the fatigue aspect, and I had chronic fatigue for a long time, right? You try to get me out of bed, and it was the hardest thing for me. IV therapy. IV therapy. I would invest in IV therapy for a lot of people, especially B complex, especially glutathione, especially zinc, especially magnesium. I mean, these are the essentials. But anxiety and specifically panic can really deplete us of nutrients that we need in order to think more clearly, nutrients that we need in order to get the job done, for example, right? So when you talk about fatigue, I would look into locally any kind of IV therapy, like here in Bali, they're everywhere. Um, a lot of people with the hangovers use them here, right? And when I use them, people are going, "Well, why are you using them?" Right? Well, why not? Right? So there's that. How long should the fatigue last, Jamie? It depends on the individual, really. It depends on the person. Um, for me, when I because when I was like emotionally, physically fatigued, when I was chronically fatigued, the mistake I made was trying to take some kind of supplement or pill to make it go away and to bring my energy back, right? I wasn't really listening to what my body needed, what my mind really needed. So, um, yeah, once you can approach the fatigue from a few different corners. So physically, what do I need? Mentally, what do I need to clean up, right? Emotionally, what do I need to resolve or let go of, and what do I need to bring into my life? Spiritually or religiously, what do I need to tap into, right? So you got a couple elements there, right? So I believe those are all very important for the fatigue journey. In terms of adrenal fatigue, there are a number of great herbs out there. Please get in touch with Herbs with Robin on Instagram if you're interested in specific herbs for adrenal fatigue. At Herbs with Robin on Instagram. Ask her; she'll guide you. Huh? A7, I would go get your levels checked. I would. Um, do I think it's completely necessary? In my personal opinion, no, I don't. And you want to make sure that you don't overdo it, right? Um, as I mentioned in a few videos, some of the things that were very beneficial to me at a physical level was pumpkin seeds. That was a big one. So you got pumpkin seeds, you get your zinc from pumpkin seeds. Epsom salt baths I used to take. It would help me with the magnesium part of things, right? Um, what else? B vitamins. B complex is fantastic, and avocados do a very good job of that. So those are some there. Those are three right there that you want to start adding to your daily. Yeah. Fish oil can't hurt. 100%. I'm actually being led more so towards a Mediterranean diet myself, with the occasional cake. I like cake, right? I cheat. I do. I'm not very. I, I'm strict with my diet, but I'm not overboard. Right? How long should panic attacks last? Man, well, let me go by my own experience. My panic attacks would last somewhere between like 2 minutes and I'd say 3 hours, well, 2 to 3 hours. Um, yeah. What is healthy, Jamie? Well, the thing about panic attacks is you don't want to wait for a panic attack to happen before you do something, right? A lot of people that have panic disorder wait till they're in the dumps and experiencing panic to do something about it. But the truth is, what you do for your panic disorder begins the moment you open up your eyes in the morning, right? The momentum that you gain from all the inner work that you're doing should pull you into a place where even if your body feels like it justifies the panic, you will be able to override it because of the wins that you have, Jamie, right? So you wake up in the morning, for example, and you start your morning with a prayer of protection, right? Or if you're pulled towards in that direction, you start with the serenity prayer. Right? Serenity prayer is fantastic for anxiety, just so you know. Right? The serenity prayer will really start the process of recognizing what's in your control, what's out of your control, and making sure that you're aligned with letting certain things go and controlling what you have control over. Right? So starting your morning with serenity prayer is absolutely fantastic. And then if you do something for your physical body in the morning, some kind of a hatha yoga practice or some kind of breath work in the morning, I mean, that's fantastic right there. You woke up mindful, right? And well, let's not make it complicated here. You woke up with a prayer, you did hatha yoga, but then what you don't do is you don't go looking for results, right? That's where you fall into the trap. Oh, I prayed and I did hatha yoga. I should be anxiety free. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Right? This is a process. It's a healing process. It's a journey. Right? This sort of journey is long and arduous. Right? And it's meant to be that way. So don't go looking for the result to what you did, but just leave the result to itself. Right? You're totally hitting it in the nail, Dennis. Well, good. Let's keep banging the nail. Dennis Christopher Wright. Yes, sir. I am here for you, my friend. Yes. What are your thoughts on CBT and neuroplasticity, brain rewiring, especially concerning anxiety? I don't think, well, CBT for me is, in my personal opinion, CBT is more so an excellent maintenance tool after you've done the messy work, right? So you've done emotional reframing, you've done trauma work, you're healing at an inner child level. Um, Even breath work can really take you to deep places, right? But you've done the work where you feel like you're physiologically purging, like you've done the sweating, you've done those things, right? Um, and you've done that work, and whatever method you've used doesn't matter. If it works for you, and you feel like you've purged. And then CBT is kind of that maintenance where it just kind of continues to justify this new direction that you're going, if that makes sense, right? But CBT for somebody who's going through an anxiety disorder can help to some degree, but more so CBT helps with um, suppressing symptoms for me. CBT at a more severe level of anxiety, uh, can get a bit tricky because, yes, you're making cognitive changes and yes, you're making behavioral changes, but you're not making emotional changes. And until you make emotional changes, nothing's going to change, right? So there's better ways. Um, Instead of CBT, at least in the beginning stages, maybe there's neuro linguistic programming, NLP. You may want to look into books from Richard Bandler, who is excellent with NLP. Is one of the founders of it, and then because he works with a lot of hypnosis, he works with a lot of imagery stuff. He works with the body. I believe these concepts aren't so much front and center. CBT is, but NLP not so much. Um, I would look into those at the beginning, CBT, to continue the process of neuroplasticity and brain rewiring is fantastic. After the messy work, Christopher, if that makes sense. That's my own opinion. Please take it for what it is. All right. You look like Andrew Tate. My son talks about this guy, Andrew Tate. I don't know who he is or what he's about, but cool. Yeah, we're here for a couple hours, guys. We're hanging out today. It's nice of you to join me, by the way. Thank you. But having said all that, right? If CBT is what you're drawn to and you're implementing CBT practices and philosophies, right? And it is working to get you to a clearer place, right? And at a different emotional place, then who am I to say that it's wrong at the beginning stages of your journey, right? My anxiety has gotten better just by being here. Let's go. Fantastic. Oh, Jamie, you're kind too. You're giving your time here. You're learning. You're here for a reason, right? We're kind of we all get it. We all everyone here gets it. Gets the difficulties of it, right? Um, but I promise you guys, the symptoms will start to fade as you start to adopt some of the things that we're talking about here. But I do also want to mention that structure is very important, right? If instead of kind of trying this and trying that, that kind of approach and winging it, right? At the beginning, at least, you want to make sure that you stick to some kind of structure. So you got your book and you ask yourself in the first 10 minutes of the day, what do I need? Right? Do I need prayer? Do I need a walk? Do I need to do some pillow work? Some people do. Pillow work is basically punching pillows, right, over and over and over again. Um, and you're basically imagining that what you're punching is a person from your past. And once you're done punching, you leave it. Heart rate went up. Everything's intense. You put your hands on your heart and you start to forgive. Even though I'm so mad at you, I forgive you because you were doing the best you could. Right? So, yeah, structure your mornings, your day, your evening. Don't be obsessed. It's different. Don't be obsessed with the healing journey, but just make sure that you follow a structure, my friends. Let's see here. Mark Lowe, the journey gives us a narrative. After your own journey, have you moved to a new narrative or are you constantly maintaining all the work you've done? Great question. Um, I believe that I'm more so um, moving myself to a new narrative rather than maintaining the work I've done, right? Um, I believe that each day that I live post anxiety disorders bring me to new places, new challenges, and new concepts and ideas. So, to me, at this point, Dennis is no longer here. I know that sounds kind of weird, right? but Dennis is no longer here, and a different energy, you can call it, a different attitude, a different approach has taken Dennis's place. So anytime Dennis wants to creep back in with some kind of irrational fear or idea, that gets overlapped quite quickly by the new me, right? So that's kind of the what's been going on here lately on the inside. Okay, Christopher. So CBT would be a good complement, but not as a silver bullet kind of panacea. So the emotional reaction is as important for your development as your neurological healing. I believe that the emotional reaction fuels the neurological healing. I believe that's what it is. I believe that what we feel from one moment to the next determines what we bring into our inside world and outside world. Feelings to me are the languages that the universe understands. So at any given moment, we have to ask ourselves, what do I feel? And depending on what you feel, don't be surprised on what you manifest. Right? On the inside, you're either manifesting more fear or you're manifesting inner peace, depending on your how you feel in your emotional state. So yeah, I believe the emotions fuel neurological healing or neurological suffering. Along those lines, Christopher has another question to Dennis. How do you get over grieving the person you once were before health anxiety? How do you get over grieving the person you once were? Yeah, I think that I think that for this particular um, direction, it's important to consider that when you think about the things that have happened in your life and who you were and who you weren't back in the day, I think it's very important to understand at quite a deep level that who you were at a certain chapter in your life or how old you were was the person that you needed to be in order for you now to look back on those times, resolve what needs to be resolved, and learn what you need to learn from those time periods. So instead of grieving the person you used to be, I think it's more so important to understand that what you're going through right now is necessary for you to escape out of the ego centered prison known as anxiety. Okay. This ego centered or inner child centered prison wants to keep us in a familiar state of suffering. It's called the addiction to suffering. And the addiction to suffering at the root causes is connected to protection. Remember, whatever is the most familiar is also the most safe. Okay. So instead of grieving, the approach is it had to happen that way in order for, or this way or that way, it needed to happen these ways in order for me to once and for all find genuine, right? Genuine and natural inner peace. Because most people in the world don't even know what that is. They've never had it. Most people in the world don't know what health is, what optimal health is. That's why every time they get to a place in their life where they feel healthy, they freak out. They don't know what to do with all this good health. They don't know what to do with this new frequency that they're emanating, which is connected to a positive vibration. They don't know what to do in those times, right? What do I do? But this is different, right? I don't know if I'm going to maintain this, so you lose it. Um, That's how I would approach it. You know, that's how I would approach it. Good question. Yeah. 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 What I also do believe is that often the person that we were before health anxiety was very good at distracting themselves from the main uh, issues that would have manifested if we didn't distract ourselves so much from maybe sports or business or job or familiarity or whatever it is, the environments and the people and such. So another way to look at it is, it would have manifested anyway the moment I started to decide that I wanted to change something, right? Um, but what I find interesting as well, and this is kind of open for discussion, is why does health anxiety and anxiety in general show up later on in life? We tend to go, many of us, from what I've heard, teens, not bad, right? Early adulthood, confusing time, a little frustrating, right? And all that sort of stuff. And then maybe late 20s, maybe late 30s, 40s, late 40s, something happens, right? Something spurs it on. Um, Up for discussion. Jason, long time. How you been? Miss you too. Miss you too. Good to see you. All right. All right. Let's see here, guys. We could take a few more questions here before I take a nap. It's almost nap time. It's almost nap time for Dennis. Some self love and napping is good for me and good for you. What else we got here? Let's see. Let's see. Let's scroll a little bit. What would Halo Leathers? What would you suggest to help to desensitize from anxious physical sensations of panic attacks? Interoceptive exposure, ACT, and other modality, or perhaps something else altogether. Okay. Um, okay. So, what we know, okay, if we're approaching this, um, what we know is that experience changes the brain. Okay. We know that experience changes the brain. So, when we have a different physical experience, the brain starts to take note of that. When those different physical experiences happen repeatedly, the brain starts to get comfortable in the new experiences. Therefore, it changes its perceptions over the environment and everything within it, right? Even the colors have new interpretations and associations to them. Red no longer is a trauma color, which, if you give a child certain crayons to color their traumas with, they'll always pick reds and blacks, right? So later on, red is no longer a trauma color for us, but it turns into something safe. So we know that experience changes the brain. Now, we also know that the brain cannot identify the difference between a real physical experience and something that's imagined, right? So, because that's the case, in my personal experience, um, you want to do the messy healing work when you're in an alpha brainwave state. Alpha brainwave state, kind of bordering on theta brainwave state, is that potential that brings us to a place where we can reconnect with the inner child and redirect the inner child to new ideas, right? So, exposure work normally gives us permission to believe something different about the thing that we're afraid of. But the only problem, if you're going to do exposure work, is the way you approach the exposure work. Okay. Um, You don't want to leave the environment that you're afraid of or the thing that's causing the physical sensations to heighten in degree. You don't want to leave that environment until you start to feel emotionally neutral. Okay, so keep this in mind with your exposure work. Okay, it's not about whether it's a phobia or whatever it is. It's not about I did that, right, and now it should start the reprogramming process. No, you need to prove to your body that the experience that you're going through is safe, and that starts the moment you wake up in the morning. Okay. If you go to your phone and start checking Twitter and all the latest political developments, your body will continue to be sensitized towards this world, right? And it will identify that anxiety is the safest direction to go in terms of protection. Okay. So you don't want to do the phone thing. You don't want to do whatever. But um, so when it comes to exposure work, but okay, my recommendation, okay, because there's a lot of directions you can go. So let's cut to the chase here. Um, Three things, right? And this is basically forms the structure, can form the structure of how you go about your day, right? Without feeling like it's obsessive. Number one, emotional reframing. My emotional reframing with people is I bring them to an alpha state, an alpha brainwave state. I ask them specific questions about what feelings are connected in their body that are connected to certain experiences from their past. And more often than not, we find ourselves between conception and the age of 5. Recently, we had to reframe somebody's experience while they were in the womb. So we were quite deep there. Okay. So emotional reframing is number one. Okay. Get yourself into an alpha brainwave state. Your eyes are closed and you're going through a process, right? Mild to kind of medium hypnosis. You're going through a process where you're not really reliving your traumas, but um, you're placing new meaning over environments and experiences from your past. Okay, so that's number one. Find something related to that. Uh, Find it anywhere. You can find it anywhere. If you need recommendations, shoot me a message somehow. Endtheanxiety@gmail.com. I'll try to send you more specific recommendations. But emotional reframing. Number two, mindfulness/meditation. Okay, so now this is different than reframing. Reframing is bringing things up to resolve them, right? To reveal, to resolve. But meditation is more so slowing things down to gain the clarity that you need, right? To see things more clearly. Okay, so meditation in some form. Meditation doesn't have to be done with your eyes closed, sitting in a lotus position. You don't, that's not that, yes, in the typical Eastern traditions, that's what they do. But that's not the way it needs to be done. If that doesn't speak to you, meditation can be in the form of taking a walk in a naturistic environment, right? And when you're in that naturistic environment, you're completely present with all your surroundings. That's meditation. Okay. Meditation can be in a bath. Eyes are open, Epsom salts in there. Okay. Run the water, put some salts in there, make it nice and cool for circulation purposes, and allow yourself to completely let go to the sensations that are connected to the water that you're in, right? So the moment you start to feel like the mental chatter's coming up, bring yourself back to the sensations connected to the water. This helps with health anxiety a lot, okay? Because the moment you start to feel comfortable with your sensations, um, you're not so much relying on them to be there, but you're kind of diffusing the very power that keeps adding to your health anxiety. So getting to a place with your sensations and symptoms where you're not adding to them is very important. Okay, as long as you're not adding to them, right, mentally and emotionally, right? You're not adding to them when you originally feel them, then eventually what's going to happen is they're going to subside. Okay, so keep that in mind. So we've got emotional reframing, we've got meditative practices for clarity, for deeper clarity purposes. I'm not showing you the middle finger. And finally, we've got responding practices, which, if you are reading the Essential Guide to Health Anxiety, my latest book, you understand the process of responding. And responding is the response that you have to any kind of fear of sorts that you feel as you're going through the day. Okay, so you're driving to work and you're going, oh my God, I'm afraid of this drive. I don't know how people are going to drive around me. There's a lot of uncertainty here. And in that very moment, there's something that you remember. There's something that you bring to your attention, or there's something that you do with your body. There's some kind of change that happens so that you respond to that initial feeling. Remember, every initial feeling is a call to action from the inner child, and it mustn't be believed. That's the problem. We believe that our initial feelings are true most of the time. They're not, right? They're not. They're not true. Okay, whatever you feel initially about something is not true. It's one interpretation. Okay. So, reframing, meditative, responding. You put those three together, you're going to be Superman or Superwoman. Promise. Promise. And you structure your day based around that approach. You can't go wrong with that approach. You can't go wrong with that approach. Wake up in the morning, meditative, right? You go through the day responding, right? Your level of mindfulness is going up. You're no longer stuck in robotic consciousness, always reacting, believing your initial feeling. You know, that's done. That name is done. And then in the evening, you can do your reframing practice, right? Chewing on pearls, how are you? So don't listen to our gut feelings. Well, I think that you have to differentiate between what a gut feeling is and what your intuition is. More often than not, a gut feeling is connected to instinct, not so much intuition, right? So when you have a gut feeling about something, you have to ask yourself, is this rooted in protection, or is it a manifestation of my higher self? Right? Is if it's my intuition, that's very subtle. If it's my gut feeling and it's really, really loud, then that could be your instinct. And there's a time for that as well, right? But without overcomplicating things, I think it's important for you to just to start fiddling with what your intuition sounds like and what it feels like. What is my intuition? Most people don't know. Right? They've been believing their feelings and their mental chatter for so long and living by that guidance that the intuition never has a chance to show up. And through the structure that I've just given you, your intuition will grow stronger, right? Instincts feel more so like a truck's coming at you at 100 miles an hour and you need to get out of the way. Okay, if that's the case, then that's coming from a fear-based place. Intuition's coming from a faith-based place, right? There's a big difference. Okay, so you need to know the difference. Let's see here. Let's see here. This is powerful. Neon purple. I'm glad. I'm glad it's powerful for you. Yo, RXGG. Hey, Dennis. Hey. I realize that whenever I meditate in the mornings, my body becomes a little anxious, Naturally, my mind is clear, but when I start the meditation, I feel this pit in my stomach. It's interesting you say that because that was me for many months, many months before it started to change, right? But for me, when I meditated, what happened was my heart rate wasn't faster, but it was stronger. That's what I noticed. And it always freaked me out when I meditated. Like, what? Dude, hey, we're trying to relax here. Right? We're trying to meditate here. We're trying to tap in here to higher potentials. Okay, so what is it that is causing you to feel so threatened by this meditation? Okay, now answer that question. Why does your inner child, ego, subconscious mind, for me, they're all interconnected. Why does your inner child feel so threatened by meditation? Why does your inner child feel so threatened by relaxing? Why does your inner child feel so threatened by letting go? Okay, so write this down. Write it down somewhere, right? And just start plugging in answers. Plug it up, plug it in, plug it up, plug it in, right? Um, when you live your life, as many anxiety sufferers do, when you live your life from a place of 8, 9, 10 functioning anxiety, right? And fear and irrational fear, when you live in that very heightened sympathetic state all the time and you always feel charged up, like you're tired but wired, right? Comment below if you've ever experienced that or experiencing that now. Like I'm so tired, but I'm so wired that I can't let go, right? That feeling. Then for too long in your life, you have been falling for, people keep saying Andrew Tate. I don't know who this person is, but I need to look him up. I look like him. Yeah. So, yeah, if you've been living in this high level of sympathetic nervous arousal for a very long time, then you can't have your own perspective, basically, right? Your body's making decisions for you. Your brain, which is absolutely exhausted and mentally fatigued, is making decisions for you. Your brain is firing off all these warning signals to your body constantly of the next potential threat. And this becomes a pattern, this becomes a cycle, right? So, yeah, a lot of people can attribute from the comments I can see. So, anytime you look to relax or meditate, your body, your inner child will deem that as a threat. Right? It's a threat. Okay. And it's not because it's the way it's going to be forever. It's just that at this point in your life, you've been gripping onto life so tightly and looking to control so many things that are feeling like they're out of control that you've gotten yourself to this physiological and mental state, right? And anytime you try to relax, your system sees that as a threat. Because how can you relax when, a saber-toothed tiger is standing right around the corner? You mustn't. At least that's what, the inner child believes is true for you in your life. That's why the most important relationship that you need to build is between you and your body. Whether we're here with people that we're familiar with or unfamiliar with, we are in a safe place, right? Whether we are about to meditate and I'm about to close my eyes in front of people that I haven't met before, most of them, that's still a safe place. It's safe to close your eyes in front of people, and let me show you that that's true for us, right? Okay. So you see how I'm going about it? I'm focusing on my body, right? I'm not concerned whether I have a sensation or symptom because those don't stick to me anymore. They don't stick. Right? I'm guiding the body to new perspectives. Cool. WBK Beats. Can we agree that your gut health and what you consume is the most important? Okay. If you ask me, I personally don't believe it's the most important, because what I feel is a little bit more important than what you consume is what you believe about what you consume. For example, someone who eats broccoli all day isn't going to get the benefits from broccoli if they don't believe in the healing potentials of broccoli. Okay, if you're eating to heal something and hoping and wishing that it's going to happen, it's not going to happen. Um, Likewise, I mean, I can use the example of my 93-year-old grandmother who's smoked her entire life. Not a lot, but smokes regularly, right? And a lot of people used to tell her that's bad. Okay, so but why is it bad? I mean, if we took the smoking away from my grandmother, what would she potentially match the what would she be able to replace that with, right? But and that's a separate conversation. The conversation is that the smoking doesn't feel like it's going to kill her. Okay, so the belief about it creates emotions. The emotions align with what it is that you're doing for your body. So for me, the way I approach everything is I bless the food that I eat. I bless the drinks that I drink, right? And and that comes before what you consume for me, right? It's the same thing with someone going through meditation. You're going to go meditate and you're in a heightened state hoping that it works, right? You're tensing every part of your body. You're trying to meditate. You're not letting go to the process, right? You don't feel like this is going to be helpful, but you're trying it. And you meditate for 15 minutes. Is it going to be beneficial? No. You're stuck in anxiety. Right? You basically wasted 15 minutes of your time trying to do something that you weren't prepared to do. Okay, so your innate is important. I believe it is. I believe it really is. I believe it's even more important than we give credit for in today's world. A lot of people talk about diet and practical steps and habits and this and that, but if you don't have the right approach, if you aren't connecting to the potentials of that thing that you're about to do or eat or whatever it is, and connect a new healthy association to it, then I don't believe you're going to benefit from it. So before you eat, before you change your diet, make sure that you fully and emotionally get to a place where you really believe that it's going to make a positive change in your life. It's going to be beneficial. Being in the moment, Mickey says. Let's see here. WBK Beats reframing helps me out of a bunch. Hey, love CBT therapy. Excellent. Good for you. I love that you're embracing this particular chapter, what you're drawn to. I see Vancouver, Canada here. Let's go, hometown. Dennis, Delphina. Wow, this is my first live. Love and blessings from Vancouver. Love and blessings right back to you. Thanks for joining. Fabuloso. Let's see here. I find trying to calm the subconscious tends to perpetuate the symptoms because I'm calming out of trying to stop the symptoms before they get worse. What's a better approach? Well, Ethan, I think that you should allow the process of calming the subconscious to be more natural rather than mental. Right? Let me know if that makes sense to you. And what I mean by allowing the process of calming the subconscious naturally rather than mentally is that you don't try to mentally force an idea onto the subconscious mind. Because once you start looking to force an idea into the subconscious mind and body, you will be met with a reflection. You will be met with defense mechanisms, right? The subconscious mind doesn't like to be forced to do things, definitely not forced to change something that it believes is true. So instead, you meditate, right, with the intention, right? Key word, the intention of allowing the meditation to bring you into deeper forms of clarity rather than forcing an idea to happen through the meditation, right? Um, Meditating with the symptoms uh, going on in the body is quite beneficial as long as you're not fixated on seeing whether the symptoms are disappearing or not, right? Okay, you see the difference? Right? I'm meditating. It's like walking the dog. You're walking the dog kind of like you're walking your symptoms, right? Your sensations. You're there. You're finding some peace. You're not forcing it. But this is the process of letting go and building trust, isn't it? Right? And you're walking the dog. You're not pulling the dog from one block to the next. You're pulling the dog because what happens when you do that? The dog gets defensive. Dog, I don't want to go there. It starts pulling its own weight, right? And I want to go this way. So you don't do that, right? Um, so that would be a better approach to it all. Let it happen naturally. Yes. Don't look for immediate results. That's definite. Letting go and going with the flow. Yes. So flow would be a fantastic word to use when you're trying to implement some kind of relaxing skill set into your health, anxiety, or symptom healing, right? And you get to the point when you're going through this that whether the symptom is there or not is doesn't it it doesn't consume you anymore. It's not important to you, right? Because a lot of health anxiety sufferers and anxiety sufferers are always looking to do something to alleviate the symptom. Okay, but that's the wrong approach, right? You do something, you bring the symptom along for the walk, right? And as you go about your meditation, you start detaching from the symptom itself. You start literally detaching from your physical body and everything that it's doing. And that is true meditation for me, right? So with meditation, I'll meditate and I'll get to a point where I feel like I'm not even my physical body. I'm not even in my physical body anymore. I'm so in the flow. I'm so relaxed, right? And yes, my mind will wander, but I'll bring it back constantly. I'll bring it back to the space of flow, right? And that's a skill set, and it takes time to get there. Okay, so don't expect it to happen overnight. But what we want, my friends, what we want is we want to eliminate, and you want to write this word down, we want to eliminate doership from our healing journey. We want to eliminate doership from our healing journey. This is a term that my mentor gave me, and it spoke volumes to me. Doership has everything to do with perfectionism. Doership has everything to do with a low level of self worth and self esteem. Doership shows up in the form of forcing things to happen, right? Forcing things to happen, wanting things to happen, begging for things to happen, right? Um, Impatience goes hand in hand with doership. There is no flow in doership. There is no trust. There is no faith. There's only the opposite in doership. Okay, so you want to get to a place where you ask yourself, when I'm doing what I'm about to do, is doership going to be a part of it or not? And if it is, don't do it. Don't do it that way. Julian Taylor, hello, my friend. Awesome. Let's see here. Your video saved my life back in 2019. Oh, what a wonderful thing to share. A life worth saving. I'm currently weaning off my medication 3 years later with no other lifestyle changes. Is medication alone able to cause minor setback? Weaning off? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a lot going on here. Of course, there's a lot going on at a chemical level. When you're weaning off, I think you should definitely expect setbacks. It's almost a part of your daily routine to experience some form of setback, right? But with that being said, as long as you understand that it's a chemical process, whoa, I just got a donation. Ella, thank you. That's cool. I didn't even know that was possible. I didn't even know how you did that, but that's cool. Thank you. Oh, there is a cash button down there. Cash button. Fantastic. Thank you. Appreciate it. Expect setbacks when you're weaning off a medication. Number one, minor, or and in the beginning, they may not feel so minor. They may feel very major, in fact. Um, and the idea or the attitude that you bring that says, I will have setbacks, right? I will have them. I'm not hoping they don't show up, right? I'm not hoping they don't show up. I will have setbacks, and I will be prepared mentally for those setbacks, right? And as long as I'm mentally prepared for those setbacks, I'll be emotionally prepared for those setbacks, because I won't allow the setback to drive my emotional state. This is the key. You can have a symptom, but the goal is to not allow it to stick and to get to an emotional place with you. You can have a difficult external experience, but the key is not to get emotionally aroused because of what took place. And then we're no longer dragged around here and there, right? We don't rely on excitement to think that we're living a fulfilling life, and we don't attach to fear based around protection, right? Dennis, Delphina, I got rid of fear and guilt with the power of prayer. It works. Thank you for that share. And honestly, if some of the stuff that I say doesn't make sense, just say it doesn't make sense, right? And also remind yourself that at this point in your life, maybe it's not supposed to make sense, right? Maybe it's not supposed to make sense. Maybe there's some other lessons that need to be learned, and some other information that needs to be gathered before it starts to make sense, right? That's why I'm always kind of wary about how to answer questions, hoping that when you answer the question, you're responding to everybody, as at least as many people as you can, rather than people starting their journey. Or Ethan says that makes sense. Thanks. I've tried only mindfulness meditation, like a mantra on pain and tension, noticing what symptoms for what they are. What are your meditation practices? Yeah. Um, my meditation practices. Well, my meditation practices, I do a few. I do a few. One, I do a lot of color breathing meditation practices where I'm breathing in a safety color and breathing out the color of tension or whatever that I don't want stuck in the body. So color breathing is very, very powerful, but I don't do color breathing for a full 10-minute period. I'll do it for like a minute or two. And then once I get to that place of flow and that place of rhythm, I start to kind of detach from that practice and just kind of stay in that mental state of emptiness, right? The other meditative practices I usually do is getting myself to practice detaching from every thought, detaching from every feeling and emotion, and just kind of a blank meditative practice. So I'll sit in a lotus position, my back kind of rested, and I'll only focus on the blackness in front of me, right? And as I'm focusing on the blackness, I'm not really dragged into any particular idea, but rather when an idea shows up, I don't force it away. I just I just refocus my attention on the beautiful emptiness that I want to experience instead. Julian, wow, thank you for the donation. That's so generous of you. Blessed. Thank you so very much. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Oh, wow, I'm getting emotional. Thank you. So kind. So kind. So I hope that speaks to you. My friends, um, I hope that I've been able to answer some of your questions here. I have enjoyed this live, really. And Omar, how much time meditation take to help anxiety disorder? Well, in the beginning of my introduction to meditation, Omar, I meditated for 1 minute 3 times a day. And that helped me a lot because it broke my pattern of anxiety, right? Right. So 1 minute 3 times a day. And during that, after those meditations, there was so much clarity, really a tremendous amount of clarity. I'm still getting over this donation, Julian. Thank you. Um, but at the beginning of the meditative process, you don't want to meditate for too long. You want to focus on quality more than how long you do it for, number one. And then you want to build as you go. You want to build in terms of how much time you meditate for as time goes on. But if you meditate for 1 minute 3 times throughout the day, in any form of meditation, whether that be color breathing or mantra meditation or whatever it is, um, it will be helpful. It will be helpful. And just because you feel challenged when you're meditating, don't give up on meditation. Don't give up on it. Don't give up on Never give up on it. Just keep lessening the time. Lessen the time. Lessen the time to 30 seconds. Lessen the time to 15 seconds even. Because it's all going to be beneficial for you. I promise. What style of meditation is Jamie? Color breathing meditation is great. Mantra meditation, where you're repeating a certain mantra, is fantastic. Like, for example, the mantra of letting go. Inhale, let go. Let go. But you don't do that for the whole meditation. You just do it until you feel like physiologically with your body you are letting go. Then there's no reason to continue the mantra, right? At least for me. So, mantra meditation, color breathing, those are all fantastic. Let's see here. Does YouTube music related stuff help for meditation? Jamie, that's a great question. I believe that it can. I believe that it can. I also believe that there's a lot of clarity and meditation that can be done simply by listening to the right kind of music. Right? I reference a beautiful angelic singer by the name of Ajit, Ajeet, and the messages are wonderful. Really, I mean, we're talking an old soul here that's here for specific healing purposes and helping purposes. But Ajit is fantastic. All her albums are great. When you're listening, um, you wanna attach and be a part of the words that she's expressing, right? So yes, music and as well binaural beats can help a lot in the meditative process. If you look up binaural beats for anxiety, Sounds kind of weird in the beginning, but if you can get the purest form of binaural beats, I don't know how many studies have been done in their effectiveness for anxiety, but it's based on the individual. So if you listen to it and you feel like it's beneficial and you're drawn towards it, then do it. Manish, good to see you. Rebecca, we can go to that. What is the mantra? I'll do that one first. The mantra meditation that I like to work best is to pick a two-syllable word or two separate words. Okay, so like we mentioned, let go. When you breathe in through your nose, you're repeating the word let, and when you're breathing out through your nose, you're letting the word go out at the same time. So let go. And this is happening mentally, right? Not out loud, not verbally. Let go, let go, let go, let go, let go, with the intention of truly letting go of all the tension in your physical body, letting go of all the mental chatter that wants to take up your attention and your energy, which is a fantastic mantra. But be creative, right? Be creative. Uh, you can even send a direct signal to your inner child by saying, calm now, calm now. But remember, the words don't heal you, it's the intention that heals you. Right? It's the intention that brings about calm. So don't think that the words said by themselves is going to make the difference. It's the actual practice of following the words that makes the difference. Okay. Rebecca, that's motivational for you. Fantastic. Manish, hi Dennis. Thank you so much for all your work. You're very welcome. Dennis, I've been trying to do my exposures for almost a year now. Well, that's a long time, isn't it? But not much has changed. Any advice? Yes. Number one, um, I don't believe that you're lacking the skill sets. I don't believe that you're lacking the motivation to do your exposure work, but I believe you're lacking the attitude or the mental side of things, the mindset towards your exposure work. Let me ask you, when you approach your exposure work, what are you expecting? See if you can answer that question. What do you expect by doing your exposure work? I'm talking prior to going into your exposure work. What kind of state are you in? What's crossing your mind? What attitude do you have? See if you can brainstorm a bit. We'll go from there. Um, Dennis, when meditating, what does it mean when I feel an electric shock in my body? It can mean a lot of things. Literally, feel like a mini time bomb went off. Well, there is a form. I wouldn't really call it meditation, but there's a practice known as Kundalini awakening, right? Which is this energy or vibration that travels from the root of your spine all the way up to the top of your spine. And there's an energy flow that tends to happen when you start to do Kundalini awakening type exercises. Does this happen as well during meditation? It can. So if you feel an electrical shock go through your body, it could be many things, really. It could be that you've really frightened your inner child and what you're doing, and it doesn't want to do what you're doing. It could mean that you're having a real enlightening experience, right? It could mean that as well. It could mean a number of different things. My advice to you is to not judge it so much, but to be there with the experience when it happens, right? Um, I don't know why Dr. John Sarno came to my mind all of a sudden, but Dr. John Sarno, this kind of goes along with what you're talking about, but Dr. John Sarno went through a really bad car accident. He was flown a number of different meters, and Dr. John Sarno specialized in trauma healing. And when he was, in the car accident and flown a number of meters after he was hit, the ambulance came around and started asking him questions and this and that. And he knew, based on his studies, that if he became too mentally absorbed in the experience, that the healing wouldn't take place. That's not the direction he wanted to go. So He asked the nurse basically to hold his hand, and he went towards the feeling of pain. Like he literally went with the flow of pain that he was experiencing, not fighting against it, but moving with it. And through that experience, he mentions later on that he was able to heal uh, from the accident that the doctor said you would never be able to heal from, and this and that would happen. You'd never be able to walk again, I believe was the case, but he was able to heal himself, and he references the fact that he wasn't so judgmental or allow his initial interpretation to take over in that moment, but rather he was able to move with it. He was able to flow with the pain, the physiological experience, whatever it is, right? And this is a place where you get later on when you're more evolved in this healing process, when you're not so much stuck on the anxiety symptom itself, right? Because that's kind of the early stages. Well, if you're constantly worried about the anxiety symptom, you haven't really matured out of um, that level of emotional maturity yet to get to the place where you realize that where the symptom is coming from, where the sensation is coming from, and knowing that it's not a threat. Right? If you continue to see it as a physical threat, then you're just basically still living, abiding by the rules connected to your addiction to suffering. That's what it is. Okay, so the symptom, addiction to suffering, mental chatter, addiction to suffering. So we're leaving that realm and we're moving into a new dimension now. Right? But uh, I hope I touched on that. I hope I touched on the answer there. Yeah, so the next time you feel that mini time bomb go off, do your best not to judge it in that moment, but move with it. See where it takes you. Move with it. Don't try to force it away, right? Look to understand it more deeply. Manish, the answer to your question. So you just added a part to this where you're going through exposure for the last year and you don't see any improvement. So you say, I feel like I will somehow learn the lesson, but there's nothing wrong with my body. But somehow I feel like my mind isn't getting it. Okay. So when you do your exposure work, okay, um, make sure that before you go into your exposure work, you are looking to share this experience with your own inner child. Okay, so you're going into experience, and you could have a talk with yourself, basically saying, we're about to go into this experience, inner child. I want you to understand that I'm looking to provide safety to you. Okay, this world is a safe place. I want to show you that that's the case. So please work with me on this. Be open minded on this. And I want to show you that my exposure work can take us to new places and safer places, right? So reference your inner child prior to going into your exposure work. Number one. Number two, when you go into your exposure work, don't rush, because the more you rush, the more you're feeding your fight or flight system, which is feeding into the anxiety. So you want to make sure that you focus on your speed. Everything is slow. Everything is, well, not everything, but the things that you can control, you are controlling, Manish. Okay. So you want to focus on number one, the talk with your inner child, your speed as you're going through the experience. And you want to go through the experience for as long as it takes for you to feel safe in the experience. Don't leave the environment until you feel safe with your body. Okay. And your mind is no longer catastrophizing based on what it is you're doing. Okay. So stay there, right? Get to know it, build a relationship, a new relationship with the experience. Do these things in a progressive way, right? Um, and I hope you're writing this down. And mentally, you're only going to remember very small snippets of all this, but talk with your inner child before, set the intention of safety. When you're in the experience, make sure you're focusing on your speed and slowing down the experience. Stay there for as long as it takes to get emotionally neutral. right? Emotionally and mentally neutral around the experience. You can leave your exposure exercise experience when you feel like you've made peace with it. If you haven't made peace with it, stay there. All right. Well, it is almost time for us to depart, my friends. That was great. Well, for me, it was great. I don't know about you, but for me, it was great. And I love you all, really. I love you all for coming and sharing this. I mean, this was really, I feel like it helped some of you, hopefully all of you, but I feel like it helped a lot of people. And it's something that you needed to hear. And the questions were fantastic today, really. I mean, these are really good questions, right? They're not questions based on reassurance seeking or anything like that. They're really deeper questions. So, Manish, did you write those down? Yeah, yeah. So please put those into practice. And oh, okay, good, good. Because you may not be able to implement all of them, but even if you implement just one or two of those suggestions, right, it's going to make a big difference. And finally, do not worry about the result. Do not try to create a result. Do not look to see if something that you did actually worked. Because again, if this happens, you are seeped in doership. Okay, we are not doers here. We are, what are we? I believe we are observers. Okay, so you're no longer this person that has to get the result of healing anxiety because that only creates more anxiety. You are the observer of things. Mulish, thank you for that wonderful, generous uh, donation. Thank you very much. I will tap on this. But again, we are observers. We observe things that happen on the outside, we observe things that occur on the inside. We don't make drastic decisions based on feeling. We are evolving from that emotional place. Yes, we are emotional beings, but we don't have to be emotional yo yos. Okay? There's a big difference. We don't have to be emotional yo yos. Mulish, any tip on what to do during a panic attack episode? Yes. And this will kind of be my last answer. When you have a panic attack, the most troublesome part of the panic attack is the fact that you have tunnel vision and you can only focus on the threats connected to the panic attack. So, in the buildup of the panic attack, your job is to look to the right, and then your job is to look to the look to the right, look to the left. Okay, and then you look to the right. Notice one thing that you see on the right. Notice on the left one thing that you see on the left, and you're not trying to stop the panic attack. Okay, and then you look to the right and you listen to one thing that's on the right side, and then you look to the left and you listen to one thing on the left side. Okay, and then the right again, and you touch something and you feel it, right? And then you touch something on the left. So you're getting your senses engaged. So the problem with panic is this right here. Okay, and what we want to do is we want to get back to this as quickly as we can. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is don't try to control your breathing. Let your breathing be shallow. Let your breathing be in the hyperventilative state if it needs to be. Don't try to control it. Okay, you're not going to lose your breath. You've been here a number of times, and this is no different of an experience than it was prior. Okay, everybody thinks that when you have these anxiety and panic attacks, that this is the one that's going to get me. This is the worst one. No, you've gone through the worst. Okay, so your inner child may be looking to convince you that this is the one that's going to get you, but the truth is, it's the same one you've experienced over and over again. You've lived through it. You will survive. So, um, okay, awareness. Number two, don't look to control the breathing. Let the breathing subside on its own. Okay. Number three, do your best to use the energy that you have. Okay. So Don't sit there and hope it goes away. Get up. If you have to walk, walk. Okay. If you're going to anything that basically allows you to use the energy, do it. Okay. And more than anything, it's a mindset. Allow it to subside as it does. But these are a few general directions that we can go. Jamie, thank you so much. My God, I love you, girl. I love you, and I'm so proud of you. And you should be so proud of yourself for all the progress that you've been making. I really sense that is coming together for you, my dear. Um, so, Malish, I would start there as well. Go on YouTube. You're on YouTube, and look up things you shouldn't do when experiencing a panic attack, anxiety guy. Put that keyword in there and just study that video. Okay. Love you all. 2 hours and 46 minutes. I think that's a record, actually. We have master classes once a month, specific targeted things that we focus on, but I think this may be a record. Holy smokes. Love you all. I just want to leave you with this, okay? I believe in my heart that every single one of you will get through what it is you're meant to get through. Okay, I believe that that's happening right now. You're here, you made it, you heard the lesson you needed to learn. I'm so proud of you for putting in the time and listening to me rant and answer your questions. I love you too. Um, but please understand that in order for the change that you want to manifest, you have to start doing things differently. You really do. Your approach has to change, your responses have to change. Everything changes when you become somebody else. You know, Dennis, for example, couldn't heal Dennis's anxiety. This is a very important message. If you're trying to heal the anxiety disorder from the same place that brought you anxiety, you will only find more suffering. Okay. Your anxiety identity cannot heal the anxiety. Okay. It will only create all sorts of ideas on what may work for you. But again, these ideas will not last, they will not penetrate at a physiological level. You literally have to start seeing the world from a new you. Okay. You have to start seeing your body from the new perspective. You have to start seeing the world from the new you's perspective. And when you do this, everything will start to come together. I promise you. Okay. We're on our way. We are healing this once and for all. I promise you. So just stay on track, my friends. I love you all so much. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you soon. Bye, guys. Okay, I'm going.